don't have that many, but most of the time it's in the millions. There's on Earth, if you scan over the Earth as a spirit, there's just one bright place on Earth. And so everybody, more and more people just go, well, what's going on? And then they look at me and go, oh, there's this guy talking about that kind of stuff. I'm not really interested. And then they move on. But that's how it sort of works. But a lot of them do become interested as a result. And we have a lot of people, every group we have, there's millions of spirits generally, not always, but generally. It just depends how dark. If the environment is very dark and we're teaching in a very sort of dark environment spiritually, our spirit friends will analyse the situation and go, can we help anybody here? And if they can't help anybody there, then they'll go and do other things. And so they'll come initially just to assess. And then when they assess, if they, like in Portugal, they sort of assessed in our first group in Portugal that there wasn't many people they could actually help on the whole first week. So there were around 600,000 spirits on the first week with us in Portugal. But our spirit friends came and assessed that they really couldn't help anybody there.
Well, they could help some people on Earth, but they couldn't help spirits.
Yeah, so very few of them stayed. Very few of our celestial friends stayed, and they went off doing other jobs that they do, because they don't waste their time, right? And then and that meant, of course, that our first group in Portugal, the surroundings was it wasn't as bright, and there was just a few bright people there, but not a lot. And so there's less interest spiritually as well that occurs as a result of that. Yeah. So, yeah.
A lot of earthbound spirits are very curious when we talk about a lot of these things because there's not much of this kind of information on Earth. So yeah. And they're also curious when there's brightness in a certain location. See, a lot of earthbound spirits just stay in their location. They don't actually go over the Earth. They sort of stay with the people they're bound to. So when we go to a new location, so when we come to England, for example, we pick up a lot of those spirits following us only by driving past them, or that's sort of how you pick them up. And you drive past them and they go, what's going on there? And jump in the car with you and go along for the ride. Where are they going? And this is how it happens. I'm being honest with you. And I know it sounds funny, but they jump in the car with you, go along with you. So sometimes our cars got bumps with spirits, like just following us to wherever we go. Then we stay in our accommodation to get it first day, and they go, "What's going on there?" Oh, it's a bit boring. But some of them stay until we have the group, and then when we have the group, they go, "Oh, what's going on there?" And in the group, there's a lot of bright spirits come, and then they go, what? They've never seen bright spirits before for the most part, because every spirit who normally comes to Earth in a helping stage it tunes down their own brightness, so they don't normally see them. But in the spiritual environment where you're teaching spiritual truths, you're allowed to also show your brightness as a spirit. So they do, and that then of course causes a commotion, as you would say here on Earth. And so there's other spirits that get drawn through that process. Yeah. But even in the sort of darkest of locations, because we acknowledge that spirits are there and they exist, I don't know if you remember the first day I said, I just want to say there's all these spirits here and you've got various feelings and all of that. Spirits are so unused to that happening on Earth.
Even being identified.
To being identified, to being earthbound, to having any feelings other than just, I'm at peace now and everything's good. And so that's quite attractive to earthbound spirits. They're like, oh, hang on, these guys, even if they're not even interested in God, they're like, oh, these guys kind of know.
No, I'm there.
know what's been going on. And that's quite interesting. And so they get a bit curious in that way. There's a group of spirits that sort of fall into that category that we might get to.
Which we'll talk to you next.
Do you want to do that next?
The group with the guys.
Yeah, no, this is the one after.
The group with the guys form into that category too, don't they?
Too. Yeah, they do.
They're very surprised that I know what's going on.
Yeah, that we can feel them. Yeah, but there's something else I was just about to say about that.
Sorry.
That's right. Earthbound spirits. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Anyway, it often lightens also
the mood as soon as we acknowledge, because it kind of makes you guys aware, but they become aware. And sometimes they're not even aware of the impact they're having on you.
Yeah.
They just think it's like you. Sometimes you can be in a really crabby mood or really upset about things, and you come into a room and just sit down.
And everyone around you
can feel it, and they're a bit like, they have their own responses depending on what their condition is.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes spirits are just like, well, I'm just here and I've just been around Anna because she's my great niece, and I'll just hang out. And then you say, well, actually, there's a spirit with you, Anna, who's, a bit bossy with you and a bit stoic.
And they're talking about me.
Oh, and sometimes they're genuinely also like, oh, I didn't realise I was having that impact on Anna. That's the best meaning of ones, but even the kind of ones that feel self-righteous in that, it does interrupt their connection a bit, and it interrupts their, they get more self-aware, you get more self-aware. It's a good thing. Yeah. That's why we have a lot of passionate feelings about the way that the spirit world is misrepresented on Earth, and the way that the spirit existence is misrepresented. I know that everyone wants to think that everyone goes and they're in a peaceful, wonderful place, and it's hard.
Happy, lovey-dovey.
Yeah, it's hard to think about people suffering.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's just a reflection of how hard people find it with other people who are still on Earth to consider their suffering, isn't it? And not wanting to do anything about it. So, yeah.
Okay. See how we go with the next group. They might not talk with me very long yet. We'll see.
Oh, no, we'll see. Okay. Hello.
Hello. Would you like to tell me who you are?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we haven't come to pick a fight.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Even if you have, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm Errol.
Yeah.
But there's a few of us here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a few hundred here. And, we want to talk to you about what you've been talking about with the men here.
Yep.
We feel like you are not being very fair to us.
Fair enough. Yeah, perhaps, Errol, can we first sort of know when you were living on Earth? You've passed.
Yeah.
Yep. And when were you living on Earth yourself?
Yeah, I was born in 52.
52?
Yeah.
And you died from old age, or?
No. Yeah, I died in about 72, 73.
So 21, 2020?
Yeah.
Yep. What happened?
I had a car accident.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
And a lot of the others of you in a similar position where you died from accidents, or?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
A number of us. Some been kind of away from Earth, or like away from
physical life.
Yes, for longer.
Yeah.
For probably a couple of 100 years is the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you all sort of feel like you're missing out on life still on Earth? Or do you feel you enjoy your role as it is now more than you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
The last one, yeah.
So you feel like your spirit life is interesting in the regard?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why is that? Do you feel like it lets you do more things than you would normally not be able to do on Earth?
Yeah. Yep. Probably get away with more, I suppose.
Yeah.
This is the bone we've got to pick with you a bit.
Of course. Yeah.
Yep. And also, we don't really agree with what you've been saying.
Yeah.
Or we know you're talking about us, but you've got us wrong.
Wrong.
Yeah.
You think I've got you wrong.
Yeah.
But in what regard?
Well, you're talking to all these lads about power and, that we're sort of puffing them up or saying we're God. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that to anyone.
Mm-hmm. But you're acting like when they have a longing for God, you know that their longing isn't towards God, and you then supply energy to them, to try and get a connection with them directly, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So aren't you really masquerading as God under those circumstances?
Well, I don't feel like I'm, it's not just when they like talk to God that I do that.
I know.
I do
It's
that
also
at other times.
So I understand that.
So I don't feel like I'm just trying to be God or something.
But you are masquerading to them as if you are God. You see, if they long to God and receive nothing, that would be more informative than if they long to God and then you give them something.
But they long to me, really.
Well, I agree to. Well, I don't.
Yeah, they long. I'm
you
around
know
them.
their thoughts, though, right?
Yeah.
You know that they think they're longing for God.
Yeah, but they're not.
I know. I get that. But the fact that you're taking advantage of them doing that, which is what you're doing.
So
can't you see that as a wrong thing? Can't you see that that's actually wrong to take advantage of them? Like they're naive, I understand, and they've got their own injuries, and I understand that. But can't you see that you're being naive? You're capitalising on their naivety. You're capitalising on their self-delusion.
I wouldn't call them naive. What do you mean?
Well,
naive?
self-delusion. You're capitalising on their self-delusion. You're saying, "Oh, they're deluded, and I'm gonna help them in their delusion."
Well, I don't think that. No, I don't think that. I think I'm helping them feel better.
Well, are you helping them feel better though? Like
They seem to feel better.
Well, they feel better, but is everything better in their lives?
Well, I think it's going pretty good.
You think it's going pretty good. What's your definition of a good life?
Having a good time, enjoying yourself.
Yeah. In what way?
Physically.
Yeah, but in what way? Like, what do you mean enjoying yourself physically? What does that entail?
Well, being with your mates.
Yeah.
Having women.
You mean having women sexually?
Yep.
Yep. And you share in that with them?
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, this is what we don't really get. Like, where's the problem in that? Where's the problem in all this stuff you're talking about? Like,
well,
I guess the way we see it is this.
Yep.
We're around these lads.
Yep.
These lads want certain things.
Yep. They want sex with women. They want fun with their mates. They want
to feel better. A lot of them don't feel good.
Yeah.
We want to help them feel better.
Yeah.
A lot of them feel worried or lost, or like they're little men, or that there's some problem with them, and we're like, mate, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to help them see.
Yeah.
And help them make the most of their life on earth. Like, I didn't get a long life on earth.
Yep.
I want to help these guys, make the most of it.
Yeah, but can't you see it's also selfish for your sake as well? You're sharing in that as well.
Well, I think why is that bad? It's like when you're with your mates and you do something together.
It's bad if they don't know that you're doing it. Because you're basically lying to them.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, now they know, so.
Yeah.
They can make their decision.
I only know because I told them that.
But I don't feel like I hide myself. Like,
well, you do, don't you? Like if they're in a delusion about them connecting to God and you're masquerading as God, isn't that hiding you? Like, aren't you, instead of just saying to them, look, I'm a nasty guy.
Well, I don't think that's a bit
rough. Well, when I say nasty guy, what I mean is I'm a guy who's willing to take advantage of you. And isn't that a nasty guy? Like, if somebody took advantage of you, wouldn't you feel they're nasty?
I don't see how it's taking advantage.
I know you don't, but you are taking advantage.
Well, how?
You're taking advantage of their delusion that
with
you're
the
God.
Yeah, okay, the God thing. So we can cut that out.
You can cut that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not sorry for doing it or anything. And can't you see that the more you do this, the darker your condition is becoming? The more problematic your body is becoming, the more you do this, the harsher it feels in your environment. You've been doing this since what, 1972?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over that period of time, is things getting better for you or worse? Can't you see they're getting worse?
Well, but I mean,
can you even admit to yourself they're getting worse? Is the question, I suppose.
But I just feel like you're out to spoil fun, frankly. You're out to make us all feel bad.
No,
and, you know, why can't we have a bit of good times?
Well,
why can't we feel okay about ourselves? Like, why don't you want us to have that?
Having fun at the expense of others is very, very bad.
But it's not their expense. They're having fun too.
No, but it is their expense because they're under delusion that it's not them, that it's not you. So it is at their expense.
So how do we get them out of that delusion? Like, what have I got to do?
Well, you can be a lot more honest with them at least. You could at least say, I'm Errol.
Yeah.
I'm here to, you're not connecting to God. You're connecting with me. I'm going to help you have some fun.
I mean, I feel
you know that all of them can hear you in this regard, or are pretty close to hear you, right? Most of them are very able to hear spirits easily. Yeah. And yet you act like what you do, instead of telling them the things that you're wanting to do, you just get them to do it. That's not the same as saying, look, mate, it's your own decision. You need to be informed. I'll give you some information and you make your own decision. If you want to come along with me, well and good, let's go along. You're not saying that. You're saying, I'll sort of fake myself to you, and I'll also not tell you what my intentions are, but let's go and have some fun, and I'll increase your desire to have that fun. And that's all like lying, isn't it? So this is why I have a problem with it. It'd be different if you just said, if you come to say, who's your guy that you're connecting to? What's the name? Here.
River.
Okay. So if you come to River and you said, River.
But it's not just me.
I know it's not just you, but if you come to River and said, River, I'm Errol. I want you to go out and have some fun. I want you to, sleep with lots of girls. I want you to go.
Just have fun.
But your definition of fun is sleep with lots of girls and.
Well, but also just have good experiences, not just sex. I'm not just sex mad or something.
Yeah, no, I get it. But that's one of the things you like him doing, and you share in it with him. But you do all that without telling him.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah. Okay.
But it'd be different if you told him and said,
okay, all right, we'll just be upfront then.
Yeah, if you were much more upfront, then that gives River information, doesn't it? It says to River, okay, yes, I've got Errol with me. Yes, he wants me to sleep with this girl, or yes, he wants me to go and do this job, or go and travel to Australia, or go and do this other thing, and then River can go, can go to himself, do I really want to do it for myself? Couldn't he? He's got the freedom. If you were a good mate to River, this is what you would do. You'd give him the freedom to make his own choice. And I'm not agreeing with your choice, and I'm also saying that this is the road you're on. If you look at the life you've lived from 1972 to now, you can see it's slowly getting harder and harder and harder to do all of these things you're doing with people, right? Slowly getting more and more difficult, and also your body is disintegrating more and more and more in the process. You can look down at your body and see that occurring. So there must be reasons why it's not good. But even if you don't include all of that, surely if you were interested in River as a mate, you would go, River, I'm Errol. I want you to go and sleep with this girl. I want you to go to Australia and do this job. I want you to go and do this. What do you want to do?
Yeah, okay.
Wouldn't you do that at least?
Yeah, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
There's just one other question, though,
sure,
that we have. That's a group thing.
Yep. You don't want to talk about the decaying condition and why that's happening?
No.
Okay.
No.
No worries.
Not at the moment.
No worries. Well, when you want to, I'm happy to chat with you about it, because there's reasons for it. But
yeah,
what's the second thing you wanted to ask?
Well, it's about the so Like, I'm not skipping over. Just before we go to that,
Yes.
there's things we need to talk about.
What things?
Just like, it's not all, a lot of the guys are saying it's not all like, have fun. Like, there's also, we know what it's like when you don't feel good about yourself.
True.
We know what it's like when you haven't had a dad. We know what it's like. A lot of these guys have,
Like bad relationships with their dad or no dad at all, and they feel bad about themselves.
And we're doing our part to try and help them. Like, it just feels like you're very mean.
I'm not trying to be mean
and
with
to
you.
them. Like, why don't you just understand them more?
Well,
I know I'm getting a bit.
That's all right. That's all right. You're allowed to have your feelings, right? That's fine. If you look at what's happened, let's look at the issue about their dads, because I know that you feel that you're doing them a service. I understand that you think you're doing them a service, but the reality is, by acting like their dad, you get to tell them what to do. You get to tell them where to go, which is.
But isn't that good? Like, isn't that trying to give them something that they haven't had?
Would you think that's a good dad?
Yeah, I wish my dad was more like that.
Well, tell you what to do and where to go and how to live his life.
Oh, no, I suppose not boss me around.
Yeah, but that's what you're doing.
We don't. What do you mean?
Well, instead of.
I don't feel like we're not bossing.
When you're with River, instead of telling, I'm Errol, mate, I would like you to go to Australia.
How do you even do that from here? Bloody hell. Like, how do you tell someone that? Like, it's not like we got a rule book when we got here. Like.
No, I understand all that. But I'm saying you're not looking at whether what you're doing is right or not. What you're doing is you feel is good for you and good for him, but you're not looking at whether it's right. You see, it's not right to falsify yourself to another person. It's not.
If you can just tell us how we tell them who we are, like how we do that properly, then we'll stop. We don't want to
when River longs to God for love, you don't go along and then give him some feelings like he's a good guy feelings.
Well, but that's what it seems like he wants in that moment.
I know it's what he wants, but it's not. Just because somebody wants to hurt themselves, it doesn't mean you should hurt them. Just because somebody wants to establish a delusion, it doesn't mean you should help them do it. You understand? It's like.
Well, I don't see it as helping him form a delusion. I see it as giving the mate a hand,
No, you're helping him form a delusion.
Bad.
Yeah, but if he felt bad and said, look, Errol, if he said to Errol, help me feel good, at least River would know it's Errol I'm talking to, and Errol's the one making me feel good.
You're making a big thing of River. Don't do that. It's a lot of people.
No, I get that, but you're with Errol. You as a group, there's a small group in there with River, and as a group,
it's all of us are not just with River. Like, there's other guys here we're with.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm saying just there's a small.
Well, we just feel like back off the guys, mate. Back off them. You're hard on them.
Well, no. What I'm trying to do is help them see what danger and damage this causes their life by not making their own choices in their life and not dealing with their own feelings.
Well,
that's what I'm trying to do.
So if we let them know that we're involved in their choices, we still don't if they say they're asking for God, but really we can see they just want dad to love them.
Yeah.
So we got to step out of that, is what you're saying.
Well, I'm just saying what would be right to do.
I get it. You're saying what's the right thing to do.
You guys haven't considered what is right to do. You've only considered
No, we have.
No, you've only considered what the addiction in the person demands, but not what is right. And what is right is defined by far more than what the addiction is. So it's just because somebody wants something that's bad for them, it doesn't mean that you should supply it.
Yeah, but I guess we don't see that it's bad. You with the rules, it's not that bad. They feel bad. We try to make them feel better. Isn't that what a friend does?
Well, a friend might try to make them feel better, yes.
We're mates with these guys.
But not in a lie.
Yeah, okay. This is the thing you keep coming back to. Just tell us how we can make it clearer So we just got to, whatever they're thinking, we got to be on to that. Because if they're thinking it's about God, we got to back off. Fair enough. Okay, we get that. Don't lie to your mates. That makes sense.
Yeah, don't lie to your mates. Yeah.
But
So
if
that's
they're
number one.
feeling down,
Yes.
or if they want to hook up, or if
Yeah.
they want to,
If they want to
have
hook up
fun.
like a sexual liaison hookup, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they want to,
I just need to understand the lingo. That's
yeah.
all.
Yeah. Well, and if they want to, just go and have a good time somewhere,
Yep.
isn't it a mate's job to help?
Can you see what happens every time they hook up with another woman? Can you see that their spirit body gets darker and darker and darker?
No, no, not really.
No.
No, we can't see
But
that.
it does. And this is where I feel you're also not being honest. You're not seeing that actually. See, if
What
the
do they
hookup,
do then?
if the hookup
if
was
this is all bad,
no, but just let me explain. If the hookup was benefiting them, then they wouldn't get darker and darker and darker. If the hookup was benefiting them.
well, how the hell do you get brighter and brighter? It just seems like you a pleasure killer. You just like, know this, know that, know this, all weekend.
Yeah.
And the poor guys are like, ugh,
Yeah.
they're stressing.
Yeah.
And we're like, just relax, man. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
why? And you're like, it's just so, it's like
Because I'm
It's-
concerned about them getting, as they get darker, they get more unhappy.
yeah, but how do you get brighter? It's hard. It's hard on them. Why can't you be nice to them and they get brighter? What is this?
But they're not getting brighter by you being nice to them.
No, why not?
Because what you're doing is not nice.
Well, how do you be nice then? It just seems like the way you be nice is like, suck it up, mate. You're on your own. Is that what it is?
No, I don't feel anybody's on their own.
Well, but we've got to leave them alone, according to you.
No, I don't think you need to leave them alone.
Well,
I think you need to
I
stop.
know I'm not mean to get all aggro with you, but it's just how we feel. Like,
Yeah, no, I
we don't
understand.
get what you're raving on
I
about.
don't
And
feel you need to leave them all alone.
what should I do?
And I feel you can help them.
Well, how?
Well, the very first way is by being truthful with them.
Yeah, I get it. I've got to tell anyone. All of us have got to tell the guys.
Yeah.
We're here. This is who we are.
Not only that, it's also what am I influencing you to do? It's like
Yeah.
if I'm teeing up a hookup, if you're teeing up a hookup for River, then tell him you're teeing up the hookup because you want to share in the thing with River.
Okay,
Tell
I
them that.
will. I will. I don't think a lot of these guys are going to mind that.
Well, I think a lot of them might mind it. And what are you going to do then?
Find another guy. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, but can you see every time you do that, you also get darker? And this is what you're not seeing. Is that every time you do these things, not only does the person get darker because of following your advice, which means that their life eventually is going to be very unhappy if they keep doing it, you also get darker. And as you know, if all you're trying to do now is desensitize yourself to how dark you're getting through doing this as well.
But there's no justice. This is the
This is
the
justice.
biggest problem. No, there is no justice.
Yeah.
Like,
This is how you
I
feel.
got knocked off. I didn't get a life. I didn't get a wife.
When you're
I didn't get
saying-
a family. I didn't get. Half of us here didn't have anything on earth. Like nothing.
And that's why you want to share in these guys' life.
yeah.
I understand
So
that.
where's the justice for us?
Well,
Let alone them. What we thought this is a mutually beneficial
arrangement.
experience. Yeah, like
Yeah, no, I
we
get
get
it.
to have some things that
But,
we
it-
never got
but
to
what
have.
I'm saying is it's not mutually beneficial. It's not benefiting you because you're getting darker, and it's not benefiting them because they're getting darker too.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. There's no justice. Like, how do we?
Well, you can have a
to be all bright, we've just got to be celibate, la-di-da,
No.
Christian brothers or something. What have we got to do?
No, God designed another half of your soul, which is for you.
Yes. What?
So,
But we're too dark. No one's going to want us. Like
No,
this,
it's not.
we hear you talk about this stuff.
that's not true either. There's plenty of people I know. There's plenty of people who are very dark, and yet their soulmates, even in a brighter condition, still wanted them. Right, so that's not true either. These are just beliefs you have that I understand come from your earth life, but a lot of these beliefs are not true. and you weren't knocked off. There was an accident that occurred due to just different reckless things you were doing. So that wasn't knocking you off. You know, if you think about your own death, for example, in the accident, you were quite a reckless driver, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you know,
and
it
that's
just
why-
it was too soon. It was like, why does God? You talk about God all the
Well,
time.
if
Why
you-
does God allow that to happen?
Well,
You know, I was young. I didn't have nobody was looking out for me. I look out for these guys.
Yeah, but you
Like, I
made
don't
it
let
happen
them
by
get
being
killed or
reckless.
anything.
This is what I'm saying, is you're not seeing the personal responsibility in what you've done, even on earth, as to why you died. You know, you died because you were a reckless driver. That's why you died. It wasn't because somebody knocked you off.
Yeah, okay. So it just feels like, and this is the problem
Yeah.
that we all have. Like, it's just like, yeah, everything's our fault. Yeah, we're bad. Yeah, we're dark. And then it's like,
No, don't
we
say.
have to be in hell then. Like, we're just,
We don't-
because we were bad and we're still bad and we're just going to be bad and alone and lonely and we're just not worth anything, are we?
No, but what I'm saying to you is that none of that is actually true. You don't have to be bad and you don't have to be in hell. You could be in a happier place. You could change, but to change, you need to obey the law. You know, that's how change is going to occur.
Yeah, but
And
isn't
you
that...
could even ask God what God actually feels about you, and God doesn't feel what you think God feels about you. God didn't try to knock you off, and God isn't trying to restrict your life. God's trying to help you have a better
God's
life.
not going to talk to me. Why do you think I step in when these guys want God? Because I don't want them to have to feel like God doesn't want them. I want to be there for them, you know?
God,
Then God's not going to want to be there for me. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
No.
screw up.
no, God is going to want to be there for you. I can prove it if you want.
You and your big talk all the time.
Do you want to try it and see?
No, it's
Why
not going
not?
to work.
Yes, it is going to work. Ask God what he feels about you. Like, this is how you feel. Ask God what he feels.
I don't want to do that.
But if you do it, you'll find out what he feels. I know you don't want to do it because you think God doesn't like you, but it's not true. If you just ask, right, what does God feel about me? Then you'll know what God feels about you, and you won't think that he feels this way. You won't think that he feels bad about you all the time. It's not how he feels. Just be brave enough to ask.
I can't handle it. How can God feel good about me?
Because you're his child and he cares about you and he cares about what you do. It makes sense? You can feel he cares about you, right?
I don't understand how we can. I'm a screw up. I'm such a screw up.
Honestly, there's been far worse situations of what people have done than what you've done. And even if you were the very worst, you're still his child and he still wants to help you because he cares, right? Right? So he still wants to help you no matter what you feel about yourself. The key is just to let yourself feel what you feel.
You don't know the things I've done.
Yeah,
I've done a lot of shit. It's
Yeah.
okay, Mika.
I know. And I've got a pretty good idea what you've done.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe that God would be interested in me.
Yeah. And that's, can you see it's because you didn't have parents who were interested in you. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And that's why you feel
That's why my heart breaks for these
guys. Yeah, that's why you feel sorry for these guys, right? But there's a better way of handling it than doing what you've been doing. That's all.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I'm onto it now.
Yeah. What I'd like to do is bring...
We're so sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. You can feel those things. What I want to do though is just bring some people to you to help you out. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know for some of the guys on Earth, if you don't do this anymore with them, then they'll probably attract some other spirits to it.
Yeah,
there's a whole lineup of spirits.
yeah, but I'm gonna bloody be on this now.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you.
I'm going to tell them. I'm going to tell them what's happening.
Yeah. And they might not want to know too for similar reasons or whatever that you might not want to have known, and you'll understand that better then, won't you? Because you know what the reasons are. But I'd just like to encourage you to see these brighter spirits for a moment. You see them?
Yeah.
They want to help you out, mate. There's no... They feel like they're going to be your mates, right? They're going to look after you.
Oh, this is hard.
Yeah, I know it's hard. Yeah, there's things you're going to have to come to terms with. That's okay. This is what I'm encouraging the guys to do. You see here, there's things you're going to have to come to terms with, but it's worth it because you'll get into a better place, and live in a better, happier place as a result.
Yeah.
You'll also find your bodies improve. You'll be able to do more things. There's more things to explore. There's a whole areas of the spirit world that you haven't even been to yet that are much better than Earth, much better than anything you can imagine. And you can be there, but it requires growing in some love, as God defines love to be. Makes sense?
Okay. Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah. No, I get it. I understand what you've been through.
And I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
That's all right.
Yeah, but it's not. And
but I mean, it is what it is, right?
And I'm gonna tell people. I'm gonna spread the word on this.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I'm gonna look out for these guys.
Yeah.
In a different way.
And you can feel in these guys they do have a deep sadness about their dads and not being cared for by their parents and a lot of other things. You can feel all that, right? This is why you've been trying to help them.
Yeah.
Right. But it's better to help them the same way that you will be helped than it is to do what you're saying.
So, but I don't want to leave now. None of us want to leave them because they don't want anyone else to come and do the same shit.
I understand. And you can help out there, can't you? Yeah. But also it is partly the guys have to sort themselves out so they don't keep drawing these kind of guys to them. Does that make sense?
Okay.
The guys also need to learn themselves, the guys on Earth, I mean.
Okay.
They need to learn how to not draw these spirits to them all the time.
How do they do that?
Well, they have to make some progress about what they want to do as well. How you've had to come to some realizations in yourself. Well, they're going to have to go through the same process for themselves.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it. And that's the thing, is that the main thing I'm trying to show them is that it's worth it.
Okay.
There's going to be a hard time, but after the hard time, things get better, and it's worth it.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, okay. Well, you've got to look out for them then, because I don't understand how to look out for them properly.
Well, I'm going to be in a different country today.
Yeah, someone's got to look out for them.
Well, no, if they want real help, these bright spirits that are now with you, if they really want help and are sincere about it, those same spirits will help them too.
Oh, good.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, but as you know, they haven't really wanted that kind of help in the past. So that's something they've got to sort out for themselves. You follow me?
Yep.
You can't be responsible for people who don't want help.
But I think they want help, but I thought they wanted help.
Well, no, what they want generally is just to feel good, which is not the same as wanting help.
Yeah, I thought that was helping.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. What they need is some real help, but when they desire the real help, they will get the real help. So there's no problem with that. Just like you desire some real help, you'll get real help. You understand?
Okay. Yeah.
So
do the God thing.
Do the God thing.
That's,
yeah. That will help them a lot.
Shit. Now I get what you mean about being the God when they talk to God and I'm there.
Yeah. But that's just regret, and you just need to go through regret. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We've got to go.
Yeah. We care about you, and we know that you cared about these guys, but not the right way. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries.
Thanks.
No worries. Right, babe.
Yeah. That was a bit unexpected, actually. Understand, guys, why you get a hit from those guys, because they've got this sort of powerful, forceful feeling in them, which I think is probably going to serve them well in their progression. But they zap like they don't have any. They just push a lot of energy in, and yeah. Wow. Yes, I get how that can feel a bit like you're getting good feelings.
Good feelings from God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. How's everyone going with that? Does anyone ask some questions about there, or you're all a bit shocked about that? Phil, you want to ask, and then Tim over that side. Phil, just sorry, not Phil.
It's not.
Sorry.
It's Aaron.
Aaron, sorry, Aaron.
Else, just behind you, Don.
Aaron,
Yeah.
Excellent.
How do we know what's from God, what's not?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Aaron. You got to remember that every time you're in an addiction and you're asking for something, whoever gives you a thing in while you're in that addiction is not going to be God. It's not going to be anyone connected to God. It's going to be somebody who wants to feed your addiction for some personal reason. And in this case, for the guys, their personal reason was they had a bad life on earth where their mum and dad didn't care for them very much. They had no one really interested in most of their life. And so that was their reason for giving you those feelings. But it's still an addiction on their part to give you those feelings. And if your addiction is to feel good with God so that you don't have to feel bad in yourself with your family or your parents or the lack of care that you've had in your life, then of course you're in an addiction when you're asking. And when you're in addiction, when you're asking, the response is never going to be from God. Right? So that's the main way you tell. You follow me? It's never going to be from God if you're in an addiction when you're asking. And this is something that is really not well understood on earth. On earth, there's a very strong thing that if you're having if you're having an interaction with someone in spirit, as they call it, and it feels good, then it's God, or they're aligned with God. Not understanding that actually, for the majority of people on earth, when you're in a heavy addiction, anybody meeting that addiction feels good, and that's what most people don't understand.
What about times where you might have cried?
Yep.
Most tell if that's
most tears that people express on earth are tears related to what I'd call tantruming. So that if you think of a little child, he's in the lolly aisle with his mother, and candy aisle with his mother, and he wants the candy. He knows the candy tastes good. He wants it.
Sweets.
What do you call it here? Sweets. He wants some sweets. He wants. He knows that they taste good. He wants it, and Mummy doesn't give it. Right? Mummy might decide it's not good for him. It's not good for him constantly have these sweets, so Mum doesn't give it. He will firstly go through rage, which many of you young guys have felt in the past. And then what you generally do is you go into this state of just having a good sort of cry about not getting what you wanted. And that's still in an addiction, when you have a good cry about not getting what you want. And so that is still the expression of the addiction. And as a result, when you receive something from another person who's helping you out in that place, that is going to be an addiction being met by somebody. All right? Now, that is not the state of truly connecting to what it's about. So what it's about for many of you guys, for example, either dad or both mum and dad haven't really demonstrated a lot of care or interest in you guys. And as a result, you want someone to be interested in, someone to sort of acknowledge your existence, someone to think you're special, someone to think you're great. In the case of some others of you guys, you've had your mum and dad think you're great all your life. And so now you're addicted to just having somebody think you're great. And so you then need, someone from the spirit world come along and think you're great all the time.
Am I the second one?
Sorry?
Am I the second one?
I think you know pretty much you are, don't you? Yeah, that you've been addicted to that. And so either one of those two things generally has happened. And so what happens then, if somebody comes along and says, you're great, you're great, you're great, you feel great in your day-to-day life, you feel powerful and great in your day-to-day life, but it's not God making you feel that. God doesn't prop up unhealed emotions. What God does is give you his real feelings about you, which are very different than what you want from God. And this is what most people don't understand. And so what we see is a lot of people, but particularly people involved in New Age spirituality and people, young men in particular, who become connected in this way to what they call God. It's often just a spirit who's just trying to help you out, mate, with your bad feelings. And with the spirit themselves not understanding that it's not to your long-term benefit. So they only see it as like an immediate benefit, that you feel good now, straight away. And they don't see what's happening in the long term, which is really you're becoming dependent on another person, on somebody else, which is not a good thing, actually. And so they don't see that. And so what they're doing is they're just trying to provide you with the feelings you need to have a life. But also there's a level of codependence in that these spirits then get to live their unlived life through you. Yeah. So all of the spirits had died through some accident or they all died before their time in their own mind. Now, some of them died of old age, but they still felt it was before their time. They hadn't finished enjoying their life on Earth yet.
They had sort of a chip on their shoulder, a lot of them, I didn't get to have my fun, so now
now I'm having my fun. And this guy wants to have fun, so I'm going to have fun through him.
And also, there's also this power thing, like when you have had when you receive adoration growing up as a child and then you get to feel powerful over people, a lot of them were enjoying that experience, sort of they wanted to feel powerful over people at times.
And particularly powerful over other men. In particular, but also if it's an injury with their mothers, they want to feel powerful over women as well. Yeah. So they get, by setting up lots of, what did he call them, hookups, is now what you call them, is it?
I think
by setting up lots of hookups with women, there's also a poor treatment of women involved in that, which is really an expression of anger towards women. But really it's an anger towards mum being expressed by having sexual liaisons with women that you don't care for.
And feeling powerful.
And feel powerful and making you feel powerful.
And the woman feels small. Some of them had that as well.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of sort of dynamics that are going on, which are all feeding an addiction, different types of addictions. And the thing you need to bear in mind is when you're in addictions and you want feelings from others, there'll be plenty of people who will want to give you those addictions as long as you pay the price for those addictions. And the price generally is that they get to share in the addiction with you, or they get to feel some other thing that they're addicted to feeling. That's the price. And there's always a price.
So, Jay, are you really saying that the answer is to develop sensitivity then to your own condition, really, when you're seeking addiction rather than when you're sincere?
Correct.
It's going to be difficult to discern before you do that, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. And so that conversation I had with Errol, eventually he broke through into seeing some things because I harped on them a bit. And also it was difficult for him because he wanted to leave the conversation at certain points, and me talking to him kept him in the conversation, which he felt was quite unpleasant at the time, but now he can see the benefit of that. So you can do that sometimes when talking to a person who's a spirit on earth, because they feel drawn to engage through their injuries, generally feeling drawn to engage their conversation further. And sometimes you can have some effect. But it was sort of touch and go one way or the other as to what he would choose to do. And if I had allowed him to leave, which I could have done at different times, then we wouldn't have had some breakthrough that he finished up having. But that's the same with you guys too. You know, like you either are going to actually have to come to some self-realization that things are going on, or somebody's going to have to enlighten you at some point about the reality of it. And there are not hardly any people on it like I don't know any person on earth at this moment who actually understands the dynamics. So aside from ourselves, that understands the dynamics of what's actually going on between many young men and the spirit of young men who are with those young men, causing further havoc. As he finished up saying, he's caused quite a lot of havoc over this, what is it, since 72, he's passing, and now it's 2024, so it's like 52 years he's been doing this with different guys. Yeah. And of course, some of them have died as a result because they've had accidents they wouldn't probably otherwise had, or they became reckless because they had a bravado feeling. They did, you know, some of the things these guys were involved in is getting guys to go rock climbing without ropes and all these other things just to get the thrill of it. And, you know, and some of them died. You know, there's all sorts of things that happen through the influence of these kind of spirits who feel they didn't live a life. And the selfish part about it from the spirit's perspective is if you die, then all they do is move on to another person who's still alive and do it again.
Yeah, or if you end up in jail, or if you end up, you know,
if you
alone,
end up in a restricted place, in other
or
words,
old
you
and
die or you get injured or you...
Nobody is interested in you anymore. They just go to somebody else, don't they?
Yeah.
When he was talking, I kind of had the feeling like I've been conned.
Yeah.
Is that like truth?
Well, I don't know if you have been conned in the sense that it is a confidence trick that has been played upon you, but you do need to question your own part in it. Does that make sense? Because there is a feeling that what I notice in most young men we meet, they don't want to do the work involved in true spiritual development. They want some magical solution. So you can only really be conned by you need to sort of understand that the feeling you have, which is, I want a magical solution. There is no magical solution really in God's universe, but these spirits will come along and give you the illusion of one.
And particularly the feeling, I shouldn't have to feel bad for any length of time is a feeling that a lot of people have.
Yep.
You know, I shouldn't have to feel bad. I want it to be easy. It should be easy. And that sort of sets you up to, sort of opens you to these kind of influences.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the additional thing of like, I want power. I want to feel
better than others.
Superior, popular, those kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So you might think you're being conned, but actually a lot of it's to do with your own desires as to what allowed that to occur. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So very important to understand some fundamental principles about, you know, what pulls these kind of people to you. You know, they're not interested in a guy like me because I take personal responsibility for my feelings. I go through my own feelings. They think I'm an idiot. You know, when they're in that state, they think I'm an idiot. They think I'm trying to torture everybody who I speak to as well. So they have some pretty, you know, anybody who is self-responsible emotionally, they think bit of a nutter, really. So when you are not responsible for it, they think, yeah, good on you, mate. We feel the same way. Good on you, mate. Like, you'll cheer you up. We'll make you feel better. you need a bit of sex here, and you need a bit of, you need somebody, you need to bully someone there, and you need to look good over here, and you need to do that thing on the internet, that gives you some money because everybody will love you for it, and you need to do this other thing. And a lot of the things that they're encouraging you to do are not your desires. They're just things they're telling you to do so they think you can have a better life, a life that they didn't have. But there's also a degree of selfishness for them in the sense that they're also trying to live their unlived life through you as well. So it's a combined selfishness, if you like. Your own selfishness in terms of avoiding things and wanting a certain type of life, mixed with their selfishness of them wanting the same things as you and wanting the same kind of life. And so in the end, you can see why all these things are allowed by God, because at the end of the day, it is your desire being expressed in its true manner, not in the way you imagine, but in its reality. Yeah. So yes, you have been conned, but in a way you like to be conned too. You like the illusion that you'll feel better about yourself if just somebody loves you. You like that illusion, and that's not true. The only time you're really going to feel better about yourself is when you love you and you realise God loves you. Right? That's when you really feel better about yourself. So, yeah, there is a definite strong attraction drawing these spirits to you. And this is why there are so many earthbound spirits, because there's all these earthbound spirits, a lot of them, as I said to him, he didn't start out in this darker place as what he ended up in the spirit world, because as he did these things, he got darker and darker and darker. But like I said to him, and he was even conscious that he was getting darker and he was worried about it, but he wasn't that worried about it, if that makes sense. And he didn't like me saying it, and he didn't want me to remind him of it, but he was conscious of it. Right? And this is the thing that will happen to you too. Sooner or later, if you engage these kind of things with these spirits and you keep doing these things on earth, sexual liaisons with lots of different women, doing things to get attention or get approval, doing things to make yourself feel good only being concerned about yourself and not giving to anyone else, your life will get dark too. Exactly the same. But you've got to ask yourself, do I have that same level of selfishness? And if you're honest with yourself, you'll see you do. Make sense? And then you can change that. But you can't change something you're not aware of. So, and the thing I was trying to help him see was that by lying to you about, particularly when you're asking for God's help, by lying to you, by giving you help under those circumstances, he was really masquerading the role of God to you, which then reinforces the establishment of your bond with him. And then you think he's God. And I've seen many spirits then start to feel they're God as a result of that.
Yeah, he wasn't in that state.
He wasn't in that state yet.
Some spirits really enjoy that feeling.
Yeah.
Tim had the other mic.
Oh, Tim's got the other mic, so we go Tim. And then after Tim, can we go... Mary can choose.
Right.
Tim.
Yeah. To Philip.
My original question was going to be the same as Aaron's, but that helped a lot. I also definitely have very much the same desires, of power and superiority, and wanted to be special.
Yep.
I've felt that I've had some sincerity in prayer.
Yep.
And I've been it helped being in church in worship. That was like felt like the first experiences for me.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm curious if I'm just delusional as well with that.
If the motivation inside the person is to avoid their life, you can go and have a so-called spiritual experience, but it's always going to be with a spirit and not with God. Right? So for many of you, when you say, I've received love from God, what we feel is you haven't received love from God. You've received an acknowledgement and a strong, powerful feeling from a spirit to meet your addiction. Now, Obviously, the problem with that is that if you believe it is God, then you're more than likely going to try to repeat the desire you had, and they are more than likely going to repeat their response, right? And the damage of that to you is that it starts creating inside of you the delusion that you are actually having the relationship with God. And what we have met many, many people who believe very, very strongly that they have a relationship with God, and yet they don't have one at all, and they have one instead with a spirit, usually earthbound or in the first sphere, who's giving them, or a group of spirits that are giving them this energy. So in the case of Round River, I think there were about 9 of these men giving you this energy. Does that make sense? They like you. They like the idea. You're a young fellow. There's certain characteristics about you they feel they're going to be able to get your life going in a good way, but also experience a lot of things for themselves through you. And so they like being with you for that reason. So there's a codependence that develops, you see. So
similar things happen for Tim too.
Yeah, similar things happen to you.
In the past, even before you heard divine truth.
Yeah, you're starting to address it now, and I do feel you are becoming more sincere and more honest with yourself. As you hear and receive more information, you're becoming more honest. But there is still this tendency that you have to avoid your pain by having your addictions met, and that's the danger. The danger is avoiding your pain. Remember yesterday in the answer we gave to...
Laura? No?
No.
Mikey?
Mikey. About the desire to avoid pain being a powerful motivator for you to do things which are in the end just going to be for the purpose of avoiding pain. Right? Now, many spirits who are in the earthbound condition are also avoiding their pain.
Yeah.
So Errol was avoiding his pain from his past.
Yeah, when you go to church, it's interesting with church, isn't it? Because you want to go somewhere where you feel like everyone's focused on God. But you need to be careful in that environment. Saying to Perry too, because I know you sort of visit churches and stuff. A lot of times there's a lot of spirits there who've been Christian on earth who have a very similar feeling. They want to avoid their pain. They see you want to avoid their pain. They're like, they want to give you sort of approval for coming to this place that's, again, so they just give you feelings. They just give you a kind of an approval feeling. Yep, you're in the right spot. Good on you.
Good on you, mate.
This is good. You're a good bloke.
You're starting to get interested in God. Good on you.
Yes, good. And they think they're doing a good thing, but actually they're in an addiction and they're encouraging you in your addiction. So you've got to be a bit circumspect about what
I have seen some churches, some Christian churches. One I went to in Barbados. I didn't go to it. It was an outside church, and we went to go to the place to have something to eat, and right in front of us they were having a church service outside, and it was a Pentecostal Christian church service, and almost everybody in the entire service became overcloaked. Some of them were flopping around on the ground, and everybody was thinking it was great. This was all manifestations of the Spirit, they called it. And it was manifestation of many, many, many spirits, actually, but not God.
Not the Holy Spirit.
Not the Holy Spirit and not God. And so nobody there received divine love the entire time the service was on. But they called it that because they were all just getting overcloaked with different spirits the entire time, right? And we see these things happening all the time, everywhere we go. We go to a spiritualist church the other night when we were in England last week, and watched a medium, and there were people there overcloaked, with these same kind of spirits helping them out and making them feel good. And it's just, most people on earth don't understand the interaction between the earth life and the spirit life. And they don't understand how seamless it is. and they don't understand how much it's based upon what you want. Right? And a lot of times our desires are not very pure as to what we want. So, the average person on earth would believe that if they want to avoid pain, that's a good thing. They think that's a pure desire, actually, a good thing. And quite often they try to engage God in avoiding their pain, only to have the effect of having spirits come in the guise of God, helping them avoid pain. If God wanted you to avoid pain, he wouldn't have penalties associated with law. God knows that by feeling some pain when you break a law, you will be more conscious that a law is broken. If there was no penalty associated with breaking a law, like imagine on the highway, they have a sign that says 70 miles an hour. You're driving along at 80. Policeman pulls you over, says, "You're driving at 80, mate." And you go, "Yeah." And he goes, "No worries," and lets you go.
You're like, he's a nice guy. I see him every week. It's great.
And the next time you drive along the highway, you're going to be doing 70? No.
No, you want to pull over and talk to that nice police officer.
You'll be doing 80, right? You'll be doing 80 or even more. You'll push the limits probably even more. And the trouble is, remember, the laws are broken in the spiritual, emotional, sexual and physical areas. The trouble is, the human race is trying to stretch the limits of the law constantly in every area, morally, sexually, physically, spiritually. They're trying to stretch. How far can I go? How far can I stretch the limits? And if there weren't penalties associated with breaking a limit, all of our bodies would be complete messes. Full of disease and suffering. Our lives would be much more of a mess than they already are. The whole world would be at war constantly if there were no limits. But because there are the limits given upon by the pain and suffering, we can't bear it constantly. The longest wars in history have gone on for 5 or 6 years generally, but the reason why they don't go on much longer is because people can't bear it, right? The Vietnam War, of course, went on for longer, and look what happened at the end of that. People couldn't bear it, right? Because the longer something goes on, the more people can't bear it, right? And if it wasn't for the pain and suffering, you could bear it. You just do it and do it and do it, and there'd be no limit. And then as a result of there being no limits, you would actually damage yourself and damage you. If there weren't limits on this earth would have been damaged so much by humans that we wouldn't be here now if there weren't limits. Because in the past, there were certain events that occurred through the engagement or breaking of law that could have absolutely destroyed the earth if there wasn't a limit on the human ability to do so. So this is something worth bearing in mind. Make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Philippa over there.
Philippa?
I often find that when I see channeling, I often get quite emotional, and I wanted to ask about I feel like I'm quite mediumistic.
Yep.
How do we know if we're feeling our own emotions?
Yep.
Spirit's emotions?
Yep.
Sympathetic emotion towards the spirit?
Yep.
Personally, it gets very, very confusing.
Yeah. People do get very confused. That's very true. Well, you see, firstly, when you choose to feel all of your own emotions and feelings, you will understand the difference between your own feelings and somebody else's. So the main reason why people are confused is because the majority of people are trying to avoid their own emotions and feelings in different stages of their life and in different times. And as a result of that, through the process of avoidance, you end up with attracting other people who want to experience their emotions through you or with you or in harmony with you. And if you think, for most of you, you do want other people to share your emotions rather than you having to go through the experience yourself. Most of you want that. Even right now, most of you want that. You want a camaraderie sort of with another person. You want, for most people, they need a level of validation from their surroundings, even to feel one emotion, right? Now, if you can get rid of those addictions, you will then feel your own emotions only, and you will then be able to feel and sense when it's somebody else's emotions, when somebody's projecting them, trying to project them through you, right? If they're unseen, that's what they'll try to do. And you will have sympathy or empathy for them, but not feel like you need to feel the same emotions as them. Do you follow me? Yeah. So for me, like I can feel Errol's pain and suffering. I can feel his justifications of his actions. I can feel his intentions. I can also feel how long he did what he did and also how bad some of the things he did were. Because what he started to come to realise is that some people had died because of his actions as well. And I could feel, who had died and why they died as the result of his actions. Now, but I didn't feel they were my feelings. They were his. That makes sense? Yep. Now, it's a bit different for Mary when she's channeling because she's trying to express properly their feelings. Does that make sense? And by doing that, she is giving them a gift of love, of being able to express their feelings to another person that we can talk to. You follow? Yep. But for me, it's like because I'm not the one through whom they're talking, I'm the one to whom they're talking. And I can feel all of those things, but I don't feel in agreement with all of their feelings either. Some of you women in that conversation were feeling your, what I would call nursing feelings for a man's pain.
That's
when
the
you were
sympathetic.
crying.
Sorry?
Feeling. That's like the sympathetic feeling.
Well, it's an addictive feeling.
It's
that
an
one.
addiction, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
And actually, the way they feel that is, somebody cares about me now. Like, it's not a true care because it's an addiction on the part of the women, right? So some of you women were feeling that while we were channeling Errol. Others of you were feeling his feelings of nobody wanting him or caring for him. And he's done too many bad things for anybody to want him. Some of you were feeling that, right? And so that's a sympathetic feeling, but it's actually your feeling, right, that you've been avoiding in your own life for a long time, that he is expressing beautifully, actually. He expressed it very well. And because of the emotional connectiveness that Mary had, you could feel some of that feeling that he had, and you could connect to that feeling, and then you were then feeling your feeling, not his. Does that make sense? So, but the reason why there's the confusion is because you're not normally feeling all of your own feelings all the time. So you don't recognize when somebody else is feeling their feelings through you. Yeah?
Yeah, the answer to that question is always have more feelings.
Yeah. Have more of your own.
Because but it's I understand the question, because when the confusion is there, it's almost like a panic and who's feeling and what and how do I but
just have them.
I mean, my experience is just have the feelings.
Yeah. Even if your feeling is a sympathetic feeling, or even if it is a addiction feeling, you do need to learn how to have them in order to recognize what they are.
Because if you have them and you're sincere, you become sensitive to, that was, icky. I feel so responsible. But that's an addiction you have. And so by really feeling it, you understand that feeling in yourself. You know what you need to release.
And you also start understanding why you support men who are dark.
Why you have relationships.
Why you have relationships
how
with
you
men
get
who are dark.
manipulated.
How you get manipulated into those relationships through that feeling. if you understand, I've got a sympathetic feeling towards the pain of a guy who's actually doing some quite damaging things to others, and yet I'm supporting him because I feel sympathetic to his pain.
He can't handle his pain.
He can't handle his
we
pain.
have to make
so,
allowances
yeah.
for that. Yeah.
So, but if you at least feel your feelings, you will at least start to recognise where they come from and what their cause is. So in the case of a person who's feeling sympathy, a lot of times that's not sympathy. It's like, I just want to nurse the guy. I just want to nurse the guy. It's so sad what he's going through. It's terrible what he's going through. But why do you feel it's so sad what he's going through? Much of what he's going to go through is going to be deserved. Because the law requires it.
Part of his education.
As a part of his education. Right? So now there's other things that he didn't deserve. Like he didn't deserve to be not loved by his mum and dad. He didn't deserve that. Right? But when it comes to some of the pain he's going to have to go through, recognising that he was imitating God, he was damaging other people's lives, he's certainly going to have to feel some of that. Yep. And if you alleviate him from feeling that by saying, oh, you poor person, you shouldn't have to feel anything, then of course he's not going to feel the correction because of that addiction of yours. So very important to have your own feelings, get to the stage where you can recognise your own feelings fully, and also get to the stage where you recognise, no, that's another person's feelings, and that I need to let them have that.
Yeah, if we go to the principle of the question, because I feel from experience, the confusion comes when I start to have a feeling and then I start to analyse it, and I half have the feeling and then I worry, like, is that my feeling? Was I in an addiction? Is that sympathy? What's going on for me? You know, the answer always comes if I just surrender to the feeling and keep having it. Don't try to figure out what it is. Just have it. You know, as women, we're so worried to just like have all the feelings, you know. But if we have all the feelings, we get to the other end and we know, oh, that was that thing. Oh, that's been plaguing me my whole life, you know, that addiction. Or, oh, here I am. That was me avoiding feeling by having this other feeling. Or, oh, my gosh, that was my real feelings. But when you try and figure it out, when you just sort of
before you've had them,
before you've really surrendered to the feelings, it doesn't work. And you just got to have more feelings.
I think that's been the challenge of when I've done some mediumship as well at times, of being very open and then feeling like, oh, this is not a good thing either. So, point noted. Thank you.
Yeah. It's
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Perhaps what we need to do is have some lunch, eh? And then we might do one more.
Yeah.
If you're up
See
to it
how we
after
feel
lunch.
after lunch.
Yeah. And then we just want to have a chat with you. We probably want to finish around about 2:30, 3 o'clock today, because Mary and I will need to pack up and get everything set up to take to Ireland. And there's a number of us that are involved in taking things to Ireland that we need to sort out today. So, yeah, should we have lunch? Come back at 1:30?